Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and Lala and I are here today to talk to you about a book that we are just over the moon excited about. This is a book that I have a feeling is going to make my list of top 5 favorite YA books of the year. I know what you're thinking. Miss Rebecca, it is literally only February. Why are you thinking about this already? Because I'm always thinking about this. Whenever I'm reading books, I'm always thinking about, oh my gosh, how is this book going to compare to everything else that I'm reading? And so far, honestly, I really think that this book shines, and I think it's going to end up being one of my favorite reads of the year, for sure. So what is this book that I'm so excited about? What is this book that you are going to be so excited about? It is The Extraordinary Disappointments of Leopold Berry by Ransom Riggs. Now, 2 quick things about this that I want to mention before we get into the actual book itself. First of all, and you may not appreciate this the way I appreciate this, especially if you're younger, but this book cover I'm obsessed with because it's meant to look like a VHS tape. Like with the little thing here and the, oh my gosh, and the page edges being black. It just looks really cool and gives this like nostalgic 80s/90s vibe that I'm totally here for. Which makes me feel old, but whatever. I don't care. I love it. So the second thing I want to point out is Ransom Riggs, this author, might be a little bit familiar to you. If you feel like you've heard the name, but you're not sure where. So Ransom Riggs is the author of the Miss Peregrine's School for Peculiar Children series, which I believe was like 4 or 5 books, and they made it into a movie too. So this is his first book since that series, and I like the previous series. I thought it was okay. It was just fine. It was never like a favorite of mine, but I had heard some good things about this, so I thought I would give it a shot. Also, really quick, for just a really cool little bit of bookish trivia, did you know that this author, Ransom Riggs, is married to another famous YA author, Tahira Mafi? I did not know that until recently, and I thought that was really cool. When 2 YA authors are married, that's just super cute. Anyway, what is this book about? Why am I so obsessed with it? So this book is a story about a story, in essence. So basically it follows a boy named Leopold who feels like he is just a really big disappointment, especially to his father. He also has these visions. I don't want to call them visions, but I want to say maybe like hallucinations of really random things throughout his city. He lives in LA. So one time he saw, for example, a guy pulling a tooth out and using it in a parking meter instead of a coin. Another time he saw this glowing like trapdoor in the middle of the street. Another time he saw this raccoon, this mechanical raccoon with its tail on fire. And all this stuff sounds really crazy and out there, but it also relates to something that Leopold knows very well, which is the world of Sunderworld. Now that is in this book series, it basically is this fantasy TV series back in the day that Leopold discovered after his mom died when he was 12. So his mom died, he was going through the process of grief, and he discovered these old VHS tapes of the show, the Sunderworld show, which is basically like this fantasy show, and he became obsessed with it. Well, ever since then, he's been seeing things that really aren't there that no one else can see. So of course he thinks there's something wrong with him and that, he doesn't know what is going on. But him and his best friend Emmett make all these like pretend movies set in the Sunderworld, and they basically have a good time with it, even though Emmett has kind of grown out of it and Leopold hasn't. So now we're set in the Leopold is 17 years old. His dad is well, for lack of a better description, he's really hard on him. His dad kind of feels like he's a disappointment and doesn't really treat Leopold the way he should. So when he gets an opportunity to basically find out whether these visions, hallucinations, what have you, are real or not, he goes for it. And he finds that not only is Sunderworld real, but it might very well need his help desperately. So this book is fantasy, but it's also like a subgenre of fantasy, which is known as urban fantasy, which basically means that it takes place in a city in the real world, but with fantastical elements to it. So it's like a portal fantasy also, where basically there's this other world that exists alongside of Los Angeles at the same time as Los Angeles, but very different. A world where there is also magic. And Leopold has to find out if he can be the person he really wants to be, the hero he really wants to be, deep inside. So there's a couple things about this book that I really loved. The first thing is that it turns the trope of the hero or the promised one completely on its head. Because when Leopold gets to Sunder and he thinks that he has been chosen for this grand mission, this grand journey, and, you know, we think that too, because if you've read any kind of young adult or middle grade book, that's pretty much the way that it goes, right? Kid falls into this world unassuming, not knowing what's going on, and has to save it, right? Well, it's not like that in this book. It's very, very different. And Leopold has to come to terms with that. And we as the readers have to come to terms with that too. That this is not like every other fantasy story in which the person who falls into this world has to save it. And, you know, Leopold is a very interesting character because he's very flawed. But he's also very endearing too. Like, you're going to just really feel for this kid. I absolutely love Leopold to death. The other thing I really liked about this book is that I thought that the writing was just fantastic. Ransom Riggs, like I said, wrote that other series and I liked it just fine, but this book truly, truly blows everything else out of the water. I thought that the writing was fantastic. The descriptions, the dialogue, the characters, everything about it was just absolutely fantastic. And it's also a really fun book in the way that this book is a really big love letter to the city of Los Angeles. And at the end of the book, Ransom Riggs does talk about that a little bit. And there's also some really cool pictures, which I'm going to just show you a couple of them. Just a couple real life pictures of some of the places that are talked about in this book, which I thought was really, really cool. So I've never been to California. I've never been to LA. But this book paints such a vivid image of it. I felt like I've been there before. Like, it felt like I could smell things and see things and feel things and hear things that were there that I've never experienced before, which I think is a sign of a truly good book. So this book, absolutely love it. Fantastically written, great characters, wonderful story. I think you'll love it too. The Extraordinary Disappointments of Leopold Berry. Well, that's what we've got for you guys today. I hope that this book sounds really awesome and that you're super hyped to read it. If so, please feel free to come check it out at Farmington Community Library. We do have it there. And also, thank you so very much for watching, friends, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day.